Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to another episode of Geek Smack Live, episode number, I thought it was 285. It's actually 284. It's in the 280s. It's somewhere around there, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, and of course, one other thing's happening, because usually it happens at about, it's 1 o'clock here in Central Time. The UPS guy usually shows up at about 1:30, and I'm assuming I'm going to have to sign for this. And it looks like my Nexus 5 is en route to my house. So, here's what's going to happen. If he comes a knocking at the door during the show, you're going to see this screen right here. When I come back, I'm going to have my Nexus 5 in hand. I've got the InstaSlit right here, which is the multi-cutting tool for packages that I bought last holiday season. And I will be doing a live unboxing of the Nexus 5. So it works to the advantage if it does happen. There'll be a small little break in between. Of course, you won't really notice too much otherwise. So it's kind of exciting. So the real question is, will the UPS person show up during the show? And we'll see what happens. We'll see how exciting it gets here. In the meantime, thank you very much for coming to the live show. We've got a couple people on the YouTube live show right now as I'm talking Geek Smack Live every single Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central for Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning consumption. Of course, live over on youtube.com/geekazine. And you can check it out there. I then cut down the show and put it into the podcast format where this beginning vlog, the pre-show, doesn't happen. And, of course, you don't get all the good, juicy inside information as we go. So this is basically taking about 10-15 minutes explaining what's been going on for the week. Excuse me. So I don't take up a lot of time during the actual show. I kind of give a synopsis of what's going on over here on the live show. So, while you're working, you're probably just getting back from lunch, or maybe you're going to lunch depending on what time zone you're in, or whatnot. You can just turn on the live show and say, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going? What's the word? What's life like? Where are you at? What type of microphone is that? Are you what type of chair are you sitting in?" And things like that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. Of course, this last weekend was Black Friday. Amazing Black Friday. We got back from Racine and Thanksgiving dinner, and I instantly went. I waited a little bit, and I went over to Target. Got in line about 5 minutes to 8 o'clock, and the line moved really quickly after that. And then next thing I knew, I was inside Target, standing in another line. Of course, the reason why was for this thing right here. It is the iPad Air, the 5th generation iPad. I don't want to, it's kind of smudgy right there, so you'll see a little bit of that. So I stood in line for another 2 hours. The 16 gigabyte iPad Airs were gone by the time I got there, but I was focused on a 32 gigabyte model, same as my last iPad, the 4th generation iPad. So I went and I made the purchase, and I now have myself my iPad Air. Got a different case for it too. I'm really excited about that because it doesn't have the I don't have the Zag case. I still do have the Zag case. It's just that the iPad doesn't really fit too well in there. It does okay. So I'm going to talk to Zag, and I'm going to say, hey, it's $100 for that folio case. The Bluetooth keyboard still works. There's nothing wrong with it. Can you just Is there a case that you make that can actually fit the iPad Air? So all I have to do is pay $30-$40 for the case, as opposed to $100 for another Bluetooth keyboard that I really don't need. So I'm going to talk to them and see what happens. Otherwise, I'm lookout for two things. First of all, I'm on the lookout for different types of cases and accessories for the new iPad Air. Of course, the smaller iPad changes the game. So I got to find new bits and pieces to talk about for iPad 365. Second of all, I'm looking for an iPad version 1, the first iPad. And the reason why is I'm going to be doing a special segment on iPad 365. So I'm hoping that I can get one for cheap, or if somebody wants to donate one to the show, I would really appreciate that, and go from there. Of course, if you want to donate an iPad 2 or an iPad 3 or an iPad 4 or an iPad mini for that matter, I will accept those as well, because more iPads, the more I can do a lot of version testing, which is something that that we need to do from time to time, and make sure that that the product is going to work on iPad 2. The one thing I talk about the iPad 365 is the version skip. They don't, they had the iPad Air, but then they said the next model down is the iPad 2, which if you didn't want to get the iPad Air, save yourself $100, get yourself an iPad 2. And I'm thinking to myself, it's so stupid, especially when they had the third and fourth generation. If they didn't want to do the fourth generation, skip down to the third generation iPad Air or iPad and do that. But the second generation, the iPad 2, it doesn't make too much sense to me. So anyway, hey, the topic of the day is about this Amazon drone stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's going on with Amazon. Could a drone be possible? I talk about how you would actually set up something like that if you decided, if Amazon or Microsoft or somebody else decided to start doing drones, how that could be possible, and different ways to keep things secure, keep things safe, and get your packages on time. And would it take 30 minutes or would it take a little bit longer? So, all right. So Black Friday, it was great. Got 2 items. The first item was the iPad Air, which was desperately needed for iPad 365. The second thing was my Windows Phone. And, of course, I had Windows Phone 7.8. It was earlier in the week, LinkedIn updated. And when it updated, I lost LinkedIn on my Windows Phone. And of course, if you've got a newer 8 or 8.1 Windows Phone, you're golden. But the problem is some of these Windows phones are still in 2-year contract. So, and this was the Nokia 900. So it went to 7.8. Maybe there's an update. I'll have to double check on Zune. But I was losing programs left and right. Programs like LinkedIn, Fandango was the one about a week before that. But all of a sudden, Foursquare wasn't working right, and it just basically went one app after the other. And it's kind of sad because, like I said, some people are still in their 2-year contract on that phone. And if they don't have the apps on that phone, how smart is that phone? So anyway, I made the purchase. I was deciding over the Moto G by Motorola or the Nexus 5 by Google. Of course, they're both by Google, technically. But I ended up getting the Nexus 5 for a couple different reasons. One, I needed a little bit more power because of the Google Glass. Actually, 3 reasons, and 2 of them are because of Google Glass. And then the third one is the support, the price. Is $349. And Motorola, same prices. They had their Cyber Monday sale, $349, but the Motorola Moto G was only $179. So I was kind of debating on that. I decided to get the Nexus 5 for the reasons I stated, and go from there. But it's a great phone. I would highly recommend the Moto G. If you're looking for a smartphone, if you're out of contract or whatnot. I'm out of contract. As you know, 6 months ago, somebody stole my phone and went from there. So that's basically why I got the Nexus 5. And remember, if I do get my Nexus 5, you're going to see this little board right here. And then it'll come back and I'll have a Nexus 5. We'll do an unboxing. So hopefully that'll happen here. So anyway, what else happened? Last night, this week in Google Glass, well, first of all, I have to preface this, was last week, Wirecast updated their software, and I think I updated in time for me to actually do the episode here on my Mavericks machine, and I was really happy about it. But I didn't test out my scenes in This Week in Google Glass, and apparently I had an errant scene inside there that actually had no audio attached to it. So every time I switched to that scene, which was only in the first 10-15 minutes of the show, every time I switched to that scene, all the audio would disappear. So just basically a blank error right there. And of course, I looked at it and I was like, do I do some editing or whatnot? It wasn't I mean, it was spaced out enough, and it was at points where you could read what was going on, you could see what was going on, and so the audio version will kind of get a little bit confusing, but the video version will make perfect sense. We get back in, and then towards the end, the other half of the show, I end up actually using the scene that has the audio in it, and it worked for the advantage. So, but I took out the scene, and hopefully it won't happen again. But one man show, trying to remember how everything works, and I didn't have time to really test it out. But now I've got it all set up, so we can go from there. Oh, wow. But we did talk about the Seattle Google Glass thing, and I think it's a very big hotbed because of the fact that the restaurant in question on their menus say, hey, take pictures and post them up on our Instagram walls. So it's kind of hypocritical. You can't have glass there, but you can have your phone to take pictures. Anyway, talk about that when we talk about the the wearable technology wig out there. And that was pretty interesting. Sony apparently patented sensors inside of a wig. And I guess there's a big call for that because Sony wanted to do that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Our crowdfund effort is still happening. We've got only a few days. We're talking about extending it another 30 days. We are far from the goal. So if you have, it's a great Christmas gift. We've got these really nice T-shirts you can get. All you have to do is sign up, and for the $25 level, you can get yourself a T-shirt, and for the $40 level, you can get 2 T-shirts, and of course, you help us live broadcast CES from our booth. So we've got enough to bring a couple people here. So any money, anything will help out, but we're trying for that $5,000 goal, which is a nice, comfortable goal where everybody will actually have their hotel rooms covered, have their airfare covered for the most part, and go from there. Finally, I also bought a Freedom Pop MiFi puck last night because it was on Cyber Monday deal for like $30. Now, if you don't, I talked about Freedom Pop on the show. Basically, what it is a service that gives out free internet every month, and if you go over that cap, you have to pay a fee. And of course, there's no contract, so I could cancel it 1 month and bring it back up another month. If I know that I'm going somewhere, I can actually set up the MiFi puck and do it from there. But I can get free usage by doing the link. So if anybody clicks on the link on the page over at Geekazine, you're actually giving me a 50 megabyte up. I can get up to, I think it was like 500 megabytes of free usage. So that helps for CES. That helps for other events. Please go over there, and if you join in, please give the gift of 50 megabytes to me, so I can cover CES a little bit better. So, all right, I think that does it for the pre-show. We talked a lot, and I talked a lot. You listened a lot. Thank you very much for listening. You're a good listener. So we're going to get into the show. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to see this little doodad right there. And then, of course, I'm going to go straight into the show from there. So stick around. It's going to take a minute or two while I set things up and get things going. Geek Smack episode number 284 live is happening, and it's going to happen next.
This is the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to the show we call Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like Amazon smacking their drones to get their packages to you in 30 minutes or less. Does that remind you of a Domino's pizza commercial? Yeah, they talked about that, and they talked about that on 60 Minutes, and a lot of people are scratching their heads. Why did they talk about that? We're gonna go over that in a little bit. Plus, I'm waiting for my Nexus 5. There might be an interruption halfway through the show as possibly my Nexus 5 shows up, and if that happens, we'll do a live unboxing from that point. But in the meantime, let's get into your Geek Smack for this week, the week of December 3rd, 2013. Let's smack the geek now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek like Amazon smacking drones, like iPads are being smacked all around. It's been Black Friday. It's been a great Black Friday. Lots of people got their gifts. What did you get at Black Friday? Did you get everything that you were looking for? Did you find those droids you were looking for? Did you find those iPads you were looking for? I'm going to tell you something, and I talked about it on the live show, which is over at youtube.com/geekazine. Do the live show every single Tuesday at 1 p.m. You can go there and catch that, or of course continue to watch recorded or listen via iTunes or Stitcher. But I did get my iPad Air. I got it on Thursday at Target along with a $100 gift card, so I saved myself some money because now I got to buy new cases and stuff like that because it's a smaller iPad. I did an episode on iPad 365 talking about the new iPad. Should you upgrade to the iPad if you have the 4th generation iPad or the 2nd generation iPad? And I talk about my thoughts there, and you can go over to iPad 365. Everything is in the show notes over at geekazine.com. Think magazine, put in a geek, you've got Geekazine. All right, really quick, I talk about this on the vlog, but I skim over it during this show. We did This Week in Google Glass last night, had some small audio issues because I was using a scene that apparently didn't have any audio in it. And so for the first 10-15 minutes, when I switched to that scene, the audio just completely dies. I fixed that, but the episode pretty much is what it is. So if you're watching it and all of a sudden there's no audio, don't worry, let it pass for a couple seconds and then it'll come back. And we didn't overpass too much there, so you'll be fine there. Of course, we talked about the issues with Google Glass in that Seattle restaurant, and their big problem was with the fact that they had on their menu say, take as many pictures as you want, but no Google Glass. That doesn't make much sense. Bought a Freedom Pop MiFi puck last night on Cyber Monday, and of course, that's for our CES action. TPN CES action, we still need your help on the crowdfund, so go over to tpn.tv/crowdfund and help us out. $25 gets you a nice TPN at CES backer t-shirt, and for $40 you can get a his and hers, or get a loved one a shirt, or maybe get 2 for yourself. Who knows? So go over there. Otherwise, it's been a great week, and I think that's pretty much it. So, one more thing. The Nexus 5 is en route. So if the UPS guy does stop in here, I'm going to put up this little thing. And then, of course, I'll have a Nexus 5 to unbox. So we'll see what happens. They usually show up this time, so we'll see if the UPS guy does it. If not, I just made a graphic for absolutely nothing. So let's get into your Tech Smack for this week. And of course, this episode, this part of the show is brought to you by our friends over at Carbonite.com, where they're saying, hey, you're getting new computers, you're probably getting a new iPad, or you're probably getting a new phone or something like that. You want to back up your stuff, you want to back it up now, and you want to back it up often. Simple as that. And backing up off-site is just an added feature that the internet, that the cloud offers. And that's what Carbonite is all about. They have ways that you can back up your computer, back up multiple computers if you have more than one. And then, of course, if you've got small to medium businesses, they want to help back up too. And that's all about this little code right here, geekazine.com/carbon-free. There's a 15-day free trial with that. It helps you back up everything. It's a program you put onto the computer. It does scheduled backups, and then you just pretty much let the computer sit for a day or two as it backs up, depending on how much data you have on there. After a couple days, it's backed up onto their servers. So if you get a brand new computer, you can bring it back right from their servers. If you've got, if you have a fire, if you have a flood, if your computer just dies, need a new hard drive, dies, and stuff like that, because it does cost thousands of dollars to actually get your data repaired if you really need that data. Documents, pictures, videos, anything. That's what Carbonite is all about. Remember, geekazine.com/carbon-free. They're going to give you a 15-day free trial. If you're a small business, then just check out geekazine.com/carbonite, and you can find out how you can save yourself some money on on backing up for your business there. That's over at carbonite.com/carbon free or geekazine.com/carbonite. All right, let's get into the news for the day. And I thought I just heard the UPS truck pass by. I'm kind of like, oh, wait, nope, didn't happen. Nope. Oh, dang it. We're going to start over at the Telegraph. Big news from Apple. They pay $200 million for a Twitter-focused Topsy app or program, specializing in analyzing Twitter data. And, of course, Apple, $200 million. That's not a bad price for something to do Twitter data. And, of course, Twitter just had their IPO, and a lot of people are starting to see the validity that Twitter really has. So Apple's kind of getting into the Twitter market, and it kind of makes sense. Because you can get a lot of first information via Twitter faster than you can Facebook or Google Plus or any of the other social networks. So this is a great thing. And plus, they can also find out, and I'm really thinking this is the reason why Apple decided to buy Topsy. There's a lot of rumors that end up coming out through Twitter and through other social networks. And I think Apple wants to kind of find out where those rumors come from and see if they can maybe nip it in the bud, or I don't know, maybe even accentuate on it. I don't know. It's possible they decide that we can inject something into the networks and kind of push our own rumors and go from there. I talked to a couple people that worked at Apple, and one of them basically said, sometimes Apple gives false information to people to see if they actually spread out that false information. And when they do, they know where it comes from, so they can kind of do hunt from a certain group of people, and that's it. So whether that's completely true or not, I'm not 100% sure. I get it from a source, somebody that actually worked at Apple. And they might have just been pulling my chain too. So we'll see what happens. But I think that Apple really wants to get on top of what's being said on Twitter. And this is a perfect example, a perfect way for them to do that. So if you want to read more on that, we got the link over at the Telegraph. Of course, you can get to the link by going over to the show notes over at geekazine.com. Think magazine, put in a geek. You got Geekazine, and of course, you'll see all the links right there. Moving over from here to yahoo.com, there was a woman. Now, this is interesting because I got my iPad Air at Target. I got the 32 gigabyte model. She got the 16 gigabyte model. I think she lives in Ontario, Canada. And this is over on Yahoo. And basically, her name's Robin Crowley. Basically, she pulled out her iPad Air and turned it on, and instead of seeing the welcomen, and all the other languages that basically say welcome, she actually just got, the standard screen like this one right here, with all the images on it and all the icons on it. And of course, she went into the photos. She found tons of photos in this iPad Air. She saw stuff, and she had apps on it and everything. So she was completely surprised on that. It was a completely sealed box, and it had data on that. So she contacted and said, hey, what's going on there? Pretty interesting read. That is over at Yahoo if you want to read more on that. You can go from there. But what would you do if you got a computer, especially one that's sealed in the box, or an iPad or something like that had somebody else's data on it? Would you just erase it and move on? Would you kind of flip through the pictures a little bit and see what's there? Would you repost stuff? I mean, if this person was an Apple employee with the iPad Air, and they took pictures of process at Apple, this Robin Crowley would have a lot more on her hands than just a picture-filled iPad. I know that companies, like the whole iPhone 5 or iPhone 4 issue that was found in the bar, I think some of these news organizations would pay top dollar for that. So interesting stuff. If you want to read more, that's over at Yahoo. And like I said, we'll have the link into the show notes and go from there. All right. Facebook is replacing their hide all button. They want to cultivate their news feeds a little bit better. So the first thing they did was they replaced their hide all button with an unfollow button, which it's kind of a negative. Heidel was a little bit softer and saying, okay, we still want to be friends, but we don't want to see your posts. Because a lot of people, like my friends on Facebook, they don't have anything to do with technology. They don't want to see it, so they just want to see basic stuff from me, and so they'll do some sort of hiding. But now it's like unfollow. It's like, I don't want to follow you anymore, so I'm just going to unfollow you. And all of a sudden, I don't know if your Facebook people are going to go from 10,000 to 5,000 or something like that. I should really quick check my Facebook and see how many people I have here. If I go over here, I was about 900, because it's basically friends and family that's on my Facebook feed, with a few extra people on there that have shown that they want to be part of that. And so I'm looking at this, and I still have the same amount of friends on there, so nobody's unfollowed me. I do have an activity log going, but so it's interesting as that. So it hasn't really changed my numbers, but it could possibly change some people's numbers, unless it's just unfollowing but not unfollowing the person. So we'll see what happens. But the other thing that Facebook talked about is how they're cultivating their news feeds. So anything that gets viral, you don't see it like 500 times. Like the big thing right now is that picture of everybody sitting on a train reading a newspaper. Then, of course, the meme is someday technology. Now how technology is ruining us and social networks and stuff like that. And of course, when that came out, it was like reposted like several times. So you'd go down the feed and you'd see it again and again and again. Well, they want to nix all that viralness on that. So you just see one of them and not a whole bunch of reshares or reposts or anything like that. So they're reworking the algorithm, and I think that will make companies like BuzzFeed and stuff like that a little bit more less seen. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm very interested to see how the feed reacts to what I do, because I post everything from Geekazine onto the feed, everything from all my other shows onto the feed, and I do double posting. Like for instance, iPad 365. You'll see it on the iPad 365 feed and the Geekazine page, both of those separately. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, is this a good thing? Are you excited about all of this happening? About Facebook actually cultivating your feeds a little bit more, or do you want more say out of it? Let me know. Twitter handle's always been Geekazine. Of course, magazine, put in a geeky, you got Geekazine. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and the hotline is 608-205-4378. You can check that out. And in the meantime, go over to TechCrunch and check out this article right there. All right, let's move on from there. You might be wondering. Let me get one more here. There we go. You might be wondering, you might have your cable connection. You might go, yeah, it's a pretty good cable connection. I've got a very good cable connection. It's not the best in the world, but it does the job. I can do stuff like this, like get this show out to you, and that's all I really care about. Could it be faster? Yeah, I'd love it to be faster, because then I can do more. If it takes less time to upload files, I can do more. Right now I have this at 720p because my internet connection can push at 720, but has a harder time at 1080. I'd love to push the show out at 1080p on YouTube, just not happening yet. Well, apparently cable companies, and this is over at Yahoo News, cable companies, and I got somebody's got. We'll just turn off the audio here. I hate it when sometimes the videos start to run. But anyway, cable companies, this is on Yahoo News, are saying that cable companies could actually push us up to 1 gigabytes worth of gigabits per second service. Now, this is just download gigabit per second service, but they don't do it because of the fact that they're actually making money at this point in time. Now, you might be saying, well, that's just cheap. If they can actually push us up to 1 gigabit per second, they should be pushing us up to 1 gigabit per second. Well, it doesn't always work that way. I mean, you still have to figure out how you survive as a company, Because if you could upgrade all your systems and say, yeah, we got 1 gigabit per second, and then you have problems, and then these people are complaining too much, and then they drop off, and then all of a sudden you're losing money as opposed to keeping the company reinvested. So DOCSIS is basically the modem, the way that you get information from the cable company to you. And DOCSIS 3.0 specification out there allows you to get up to 38 megabits per second, I think, 6 megahertz channel. But you can go up to a full 1.2 gigabits per second. And that's just download. They didn't talk about upload. We're all pretty much faced at a 5 megabyte upload speed, if I remember correctly. But I can get up to 50 megabytes download with the internet connection I have, and I find that not too shabby. So I could actually be watching a movie in one room, and Jennifer could be watching a movie in another room, and we both be fine, and there'd be no skips or anything like that. And of course, as I've always said, the internet is as fast as its slowest connection. So if Netflix has a bottleneck all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how fast our connections are. We're going to get it at the same speed, and we're going to have the same problems as everybody else. Simple as that. So I think when cable companies are more confident that they're going to continue to make money, because that's the goal of any company, is to make money, they'll push us up. And right now, like I said, 50 megabytes down, 5 megabytes up, can't go wrong there. So if you want to read more on that, go over to Yahoo. What do you think? Do you think that we should be at 1 gigabit download speed? I don't know if we'd still be at 5 megabyte upload. Maybe we'd be up 10 or 15 or something like that. That would be cool, because I could do a lot with 15 megabyte upload speed, including a live streaming channel that just plays my shows all the time. That would be cool. But, they got to make money, and I understand that. So if you want to read more on that, go over to yahoo.com. Like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes. And as always, if you want to comment, Geekazine is the Twitter handle. All right, Google has finally kind of unveiled what these barges are, and it's exactly what we expected them to be. Not exactly, but exactly. And that is a floating store. Now, Google put out these pop-up stores all around the United States, New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, I believe, are some of them, where you can walk in and see the products of Google. But apparently in Maine and in San Francisco, they're going to have these barges that are going to be an actual store. So you'll basically be walking the plank to get on and going into the store and talking to Google representatives. Maybe it's even a ramp up to their Google Glass, because I expect the West Coast, the San Francisco, Seattle areas to have more Google Glass customers than here in the Midwest at the beginning. But as it's really starting to ramp up, because right now we talked about it last night on This Week in Google Glass. Apparently, if you go to the page the glass.google.com and you fill out the form saying, yeah, I want a pair of Google Glass, you're probably going to get an email within the next few days saying, hey, if you're serious, pay up and we'll get you a pair of Google Glass or a second pair. There's some people that can actually order 2 or 3 pair now. So I think they're really ramping up for this in other products. The Nexus 10 tablet, which was supposed to be which was rumored to come out on Cyber Monday, didn't come out. So that might be the reason why they have something like that. So we'll see what happens here, but it's pretty exciting that these are become stores for probably a little while, and see what happens. So they're built near Treasure Island, and let's see, like I said, there was one in Maine and there was one in the San Francisco area. They're calling them Hangar 3, and so it'd be kind of cool if I don't have any plans to go out to San Francisco just yet, but it'd be kind of cool to actually visit the store if it's still around. So anyway, that's over at sfgate.com if you want to read more. All right. Motorola apparently had a small little glitch on their website yesterday during Cyber Monday. Because they were offering the Moto X for $349, and of course the Moto G, which is $179 at pre-order. Apparently during Cyber Monday they couldn't handle the traffic and the website went down. So Moto X has decided that they're going to extend the sale on Wednesday, December 4th, and next Monday, December 9th. So don't get it today, but tomorrow, Wednesday, December 4th, you can actually go on and get a Moto X for $349 off contract. And then, of course, December 9th, kind of a secondary, a rain check, rain delay, Cyber Monday or something like that. So you can actually get the Moto X as a smartphone. So, like I said, I got the Nexus. I'm getting the Nexus 5, but I was seriously considering the Moto X and the Moto G as other options because of many different things, the customizable faceplates and stuff like that being one of them. So, but if you're looking for a Motorola Moto X, that's what's going to happen December 4th and December 9th. So, you want to read more on it? Go over to Mobile Naps, Mobile and Apps. I guess it's how it is .com. Like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes there. All right, moving on. We're going over to The Verge. Turntable.fm basically said goodbye, and they shuttered their service down. And the remaining venture capital, basically, they're putting out a spinoff. They created about 1 million virtual DJ rooms and 400 million songs, but it really didn't go as a business. So, did you use Turntable.fm at all? I played with it for probably about 10 minutes. It wasn't, you have to really kind of work at it to get it going, to get your channel going and stuff like that. So, and of course, DJing is not my thing. I'm a musician, and I do know how to DJ, and I do know a little bit about the turntables and scratching and stuff like that. But I did my DJ stuff in college, and that was pretty much it. So it didn't work for me, and that's probably one of the reasons why that the turntable.fm got shut down. So that article over on theverge.com if you want to find out more. All right, final part of part one. We'll get you into part two, and then of course we're going to talk about Amazon droids. These drones. I'm sorry, did I say droids? Anyway, these are the drones that you're looking for. Anyway, we're going over to Popular Mechanics. Imagine, well, we can scan stuff with our iPads, which is great. But what if we could scan 3D models in with our iPads? How would that change modeling and ultimately 3D printing altogether? Well, apparently there was a Kickstarter by a company called Structure Sensor, or the name of the product, Structure Sensor. And basically what they did was they had a Kickstarter that was completely fully funded at the beginning of November. And they earned $1.3 million for this little device right here that basically straps onto your iPad and takes a 3D model of whatever you want, a room or an object. I could probably do a 3D model. I could just sit there really still with nothing behind me. I could actually do a scan of the 3D model. I could make an action figure of me possibly, or whatever, plot it into a 3D printer, make a bust of me. That's possible. Lots of different options there. So I went over to the Kickstarter. It was like $350 to actually get in the ground floor on that, and I'm guessing that the 3D scanner will probably cost a little bit more than $350 in the long run. But it is a definite thing for the iPad, and it kind of uses the same idea as Xbox. So we'll see if there's any patent issues that come back from there. And because they pulled from the Israeli company PrimeSense, so the same sensors in there. So interesting stuff. If you want to read more, we've got the link over at popularmechanics.com. Once again, you can go to the show notes and you can get all that information right there at your fingertips over at geekazine.com. And if you subscribe to the show notes, they're just in your email, so you can just go there. I'm at that link. I'm cool. I'm doing that. There it is, right there. In the meantime, we're going to be right back. We're going to take just a slight little break so I can grab a little bit of water and look out the window and hope the UPS guy is out there for my Nexus 5. And then, of course, we're going to be right back with part 2 of Geek Smack. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Amazon and those drones. Is this a technology, or did they just punk 60 Minutes? or is this an actual technology that could happen in the future? And we're going to talk about that soon, next on Geek Smack. And of course, this part is brought to you by one of my other podcasts, The Day in Tech History, over at www.dayintechhistory.com. Dayintechhistory.com. You can go there and find out what happened in tech history. A daily podcast runs through everything that happened during that day. And on December 3rd, IBM Data Processing Division disbanded. They made all the punch card readers and stuff like that. And they decided that they were no longer needed. They absorbed them into different areas and went from there. It happened they announced it on December 31st, 1981. And then on January 1982, it actually did happen. So the Data Processing Division, of course, 1956 was when it was founded. And it basically went through the mainframe systems. Any updates and stuff like that would go through the Data Processing Division. So IBM Data Processing Division, you can get all information like that. Daily podcast, 365 days a year. It's been going for 4 years now as a daily podcast. Episode number 1575. So if you're always looking for a podcast to listen to, even on a Sunday, even on a holiday, the Day in Tech History will be there for you. So check that out over at dayintechhistory.com. Dayintechhistory.com. All right, let's get back in. We are gonna do the Geekedia of the week. This week, Cyber Monday, of course, happened, and I was so impressed with this Cyber Monday deal that I wanted to put it on the Geekedia of the week. It's called Goal Zero, and it's solar panels that you can put on yourself. There's a picture here, a guy backpacking with the solar panels. You ever have a phone that loses the charge? You're down to 5%, and you need to have a little bit more power. You can plug onto here. The solar power powers a battery. The battery then charges the phone or the tablet or whatever, and it's perfect in a pinch. I saw many of them at CES and during different events out on the West Coast. So if you got a problem with power and you need to charge your devices, then check this out. We got the link over at the show notes, and of course, that link helps Geekazine keep the lights on and keep the shows going for you. So feel free to go over there and do some extra shopping, buy some extra stuff, and I'd appreciate it much. So, all right, and that's the Geekedia of the week. All right, let's get back into your geek news, and we're going to start over at Engadget. Apparently, Santa loves his technology. Santa's an early adopter, and I wouldn't be surprised if Santa had a pair of Google Glass. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But anyway, this is over at Engadget. NORAD and Microsoft help and update the Santa Claus web tracker. So you now, people like you who have tablets and touchable screens can now find out where Santa is with just a touch of your finger. Gotta love it. A touch of your finger and go from there. So they've officially entered into the tablet with the web-based tracker. It's designed for any touch-friendly browser like Internet Explorer 11. And I don't know if there's going to be apps for Windows Phone, for iPad, iPhone, or Android just yet, but I'm assuming that there is. And you'll be able to do that. And once that happens on iPad 365, I will show off the iPad app and go from there. But if you want to read more, go over to Engadget.com. Moving from there, it took me a year and a half to finally realize it was Huawei. Huawei, or W-E-I. And you probably have seen the company, especially some of these lower-end cellular getting into the smartphone things. You see a commercial where a person's saying, hey, I got a smartphone for $10, $20 a month. Well, you usually get a Huawei phone for that. And I found the company a couple of years ago when I went to 4G World, and they did a lot in the U.S. and for 4G, 3G technology. But apparently they got accused for doing some cyber spying. And so now the CEO, whose name is CEO Ren Zhengefei, he's the founder and CEO of Huawei. He basically said he no longer looked for business in the United States after these accusations that the lawmakers and government had made. He just wants to pull out of the United States and continue as a China relations and as a China company. So Huawei's out. Shame on you, government. Shame on you, lawmakers. If there's an actual case where Huawei was actually guilty of this, of doing some cyber stalking, and cybersecurity issues, then I totally understand what they need to do. But it's stupid. Making a company feel not welcome to the United States, especially a company like Huawei, who's really built a name for themselves in the market. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that U.S. should make amends with Huawei and see what works with it, or do you really think that they're actually worth cyber spying? And glad that they're not in the United States anymore. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com or 608-205-4378. All right, a report came out, and this is over on BGR.com. A report came out that after Black Friday, iPads were a top seller of items, and the interesting thing about it is that the people that bought it, 40% of those people that bought an iPad Air are Android owners. They might have a Samsung Galaxy phone or something like that. But out of the Walmart, Apple iPad Mini was the top seller. At Target, Apple iPad Air was the top seller. And Best Buy, the Microsoft Surface actually was the top seller, with Apple iPad 2 being the secondary. Now, I think it's because Target and Walmart offered $100 gift cards for the iPad, and Walmart did it for the iPad Mini. So that probably pushed it up from there. But I was even in line, and I was talking to some of the people while I was in line, and I asked them, what do you have for tablets? What do you have for smartphones? Some of them had iPhones. A lot of them had Android devices. And this is even more surprising. A lot of them already had iPads. Maybe an iPad 2 or the first generation iPad Mini, and they wanted to upgrade to the new version with Retina. Or they wanted to get the iPad Air because one of the iPads got dropped. I talked to a mother who had like 2 or 3 different iPads, and she was getting this fourth one because one of them actually did drop and the screen broke. And she said it's cheaper to actually get the iPad Air than it is to get a screen replaced. And which I was kind of surprised, because Apple does offer some sort of protection, and you get the protection on your iPad and go from there. So I don't know. It was interesting, but definitely a lot of Android users, 40%, went for iPad Airs. And so it begs the question, are Android devices or Android tablets the thing to get? So I don't know. It's interesting to see how this cultivated. But once again, it was all about those gift cards. And I got a $100 gift card sitting in my back pocket, waiting to be used. So that was a definite advantage for being at the Black Friday sale. So, and of course, they had enough for almost everybody. They ran out of the 16 gigabyte iPads 2 hours in, as opposed to like having 20 iPad 16 gigabyte models. So the definite advantage there. So anyway, check it out. And of course, all the notes are at Geekazine. All right, let's move on from there. We're going back over to Engadget. Dell has introduced the UltraSharp 32 and UltraSharp 24K 4K monitors, and a 28-inch model is on the way, but you're going to have to pull out your pocketbook for it. The 24-inch, if I remember correctly, was $1,332. If you wanted to get up to 32-inch monitor, you're over $3,000 right there. The main feature, of course, is 3840 by 2160 resolution, otherwise known as 4K. You had the you had the DisplayPort USB 3.0 6-in-1 card reader. UltraSharp 32 will have the same specs, including the IGZO LCD panel. So it's going to be $3,499 for the 32. The 28 will cost probably in between there, probably around the $2,000 to $2,400 range. And they're expecting it out in early 2014. So 4K monitors, if you've got a computer that can handle 4K, and of course that's mostly for people that are creating movies or games or stuff like that in the 4K realm. So if you want to read more on that, we've got the link over at the show notes. Let's move on and go back over to The Verge. Apparently somebody got into somebody else's Bitcoins and they kind of stole like $5 million in Bitcoins. Underground Bazaar Sheep Marketplace found out that people, and it was like apparently small amounts, but at $1,000, I guess Bitcoin's at $1,000 a coin or something like that, a share or whatever you want to call it. And so one person who got like a couple thousand Bitcoin lost, basically it was $5 million for them. So interesting stuff, kind of scary. I mean, I'm still not into the Bitcoin thing. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But security is one of the biggest issues for virtual currency, because how do you track virtual currency? How can you get back virtual currency? How do you get back $5 million? That's the real question. So, want to read more on that? Go over to TheVerge.com. Moving on from there, we're going over to GeekWire. Apparently, Netflix last year on Christmas Eve had a small little outage because they couldn't handle the traffic. And they said it was because of Amazon servers couldn't handle the traffic, so they couldn't handle the traffic. Well, apparently they are doing something to make sure that doesn't happen again this Christmas Eve, because they're expecting a lot of people to watch Netflix this Christmas Eve, especially on their new technologies. For those of us who actually celebrate the day before with one family and the day of with another family. So they're going to be splitting across a number of AWS regions, so everybody can get basically they don't get bogged down and wipe out the system. So if you want to read more on that, go over to geekwire.com. Once again, we'll have the link in the show notes. Finally, back over at The Verge, Sony has sold over 2.1 million PlayStation consoles since their launch, and the most interesting thing is they have bolstered that they have done more sales in the UK than they've ever done before. So no sales information from Xbox just yet, but CEO Andrew House said that PS4 delivered the best launch in PlayStation history. So did you buy a PlayStation 4? Did you buy an Xbox One? Let me know. Twitter me at Geekazine and tell me what you think about it. You want to write a review for Geekazine, feel free to do so. You can also do some video and send it to me over at geekazine@gmail.com, and I'll gladly put it up on the website and go from there. So, but anyway, that article is over at theverge.com, and that does it for our second part. No UPS guy just yet, so maybe we won't have an unboxing, but we will be talking about Amazon and the drones. Is it even possible to have a drone? Can you get you information like that and send you stuff in 30 minutes or less? We're going to talk about that and explore that idea of drones coming in the air. We're going to do that next on Geek Smack. It's more than just 750 channels that the Roku can offer that gives you all that content. Each channel can have sub-channels in it, so you can have tens of thousands of hours of video watching and game playing out of your Roku. And prices only start at $49.99. Of course, the Roku 3 for $99.99, and of course you can get the games, you get the game remote as well, and then the privacy mode where you can plug in your headphones right in the remote. That's perfect for when your partner is sleeping, but you want to watch something on TV. Lots of great stuff from Angry Birds to Amazon to Hulu, and of course the Tech Podcast channel. Let me show you this really quick. This is how you get to some of the content from Geekazine on the Tech Podcast channel. You just go into the Tech Podcast video, and you're going to go into Tech News, and you're going to find like the special events, iPad 365. Geek Smack, and a whole bunch more. A lot of other tech podcast shows right on that Roku for you, right at your fingertips, right through the remote. And then, of course, you can get your Netflix, you can get your Amazon, you can get your Hulu just as easy, and many more channels. PBS, we've got Redbox Instant, TV Guide, Sci-Fi Channel, and much more. Check it out. It's all over at Roku. Remember, geekazine.com/Roku. Of course, that helps me keep the lights on for all my shows. Thank you very much. And go over where streaming is made simple. Of course, you probably heard about it, that 60-minute video with Jeff Bezos showing off the Octocopter, an Amazon drone that would deliver up to a 5-pound package to your home in 30 minutes. Space age as it sounds, is it really possible? In the Jetsons, George got drone packages and messages all the time, and they actually went straight into his home and dropped it right in his hand at some points. Things like the movies like the Hunger Games, they would drop packages and gifts to competitors using parachutes. We know that the octocopters exist. Those quadcopter AR drones that we've seen for many years. I've seen it at CES for the last 5 years, showing off their latest technologies. Newer companies coming on the scene that make bigger and better drones, some for more military reasons, some for consumer reasons. Even with 3D printing and low-power computers with Wi-Fi and cameras, you can actually make your own octocopter. But could a package be delivered by drone in 30 minutes or less from a fulfillment center to your home? Wired.com actually did the math. An octocopter would do about 30 to 40 miles per hour in the air, about 1,500 feet up. That is if you don't have to deal with weather, and also depends on the weight of the package. The 30 minutes or less would basically mean that Amazon would have to have a distribution center somewhere close, maybe in a big city in big cities across the country to make it. Could a long-range drone be possible to ship from one fulfillment center to the other? So I believe so. I mean, they'd have to probably set up GPS coordinates inside the drone so they didn't have a Wi-Fi connection or anything like that. The drone did its own work. And it'd probably give it some sort of algorithm to avoid birds and other items as it was flying from one center to the other. If it does get knocked down, then the drone could actually send out a beacon to Amazon, which could then be easily retrieved. Some problems that come out of this, are problems such as Philip Steele, who stated that he would shoot down any drone that crosses his land in Deer Trail, Colorado. But what if a drone can understand the sound of a gunshot and create an evasive maneuver plan? What if the octocopter and adjoining package were made with a material that could actually withstand a bullet or two? Further, what if the FAA deemed shooting down a drone would be similar to shooting down any aircraft? Steele might own land, but he doesn't own the space above the land. Long-range drones would most likely fly a path that doesn't cross over too many people's land, which would basically mean highway route travel. It could then cause for predictive measures that thieves could actually latch onto. But if the drones hold security devices such as digital cameras and emergency beacons, high-stakes retrieval crimes might basically be avoided. And of course, if a drone has a package that doesn't cost more than $50 to $100, it might not even be worth it for a criminal to go after a drone. Bezos says this technology is still years out, so why did he talk about it now? Well, one reason was that Business Insider suggested that there could be free advertising for Cyber Monday for Amazon. That could have also set a standard for years to come, similar to kind of like the April Fool's joke on April Fool's Day. So we'd have multiple companies just, hey, we're going to do this in the future, the day before Cyber Monday. But there was possibly another reason on this, and basically it was about striking workers in Germany who complaining about the conditions working at Amazon in Germany. There's about 800 workers on strike, but they might feel pressured to return to their jobs after finding out that Amazon is working on an alternative to reduce workforce. You might think that Amazon drone is a crazy idea, but in reality it's not. If Amazon can do it, why not another company? Why not a Microsoft? Why not an Apple? Maybe soon you'll look up in the air while your family is traveling to grandma's house and you'll pass by multitudes of these drones, similar to ducks flying south for the winter. In the meantime, your package that you just ordered on Amazon most likely will not be delivered by drone, but you can still hope and dream, right? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that that Amazon drones are a thought of the future? How would they go about doing that? And do you think that there'd be a lot of problems with somebody shooting them down or some cybercrime or anything like that? Somebody picking them off so they can take the contents inside? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, well, that does it for this episode of Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. If you watched over live over on youtube.com/Geekazine, thank you for watching the live version. We do this every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can check out what's going on in the news and get things going. We didn't have a Nexus 5 show up, so I'll do an unboxing once it does show up later today, and you can check that out over at Geekazine and then youtube.com/Geekazine. Until then, that does it for this episode of Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening over on iTunes, on Stitcher, or wherever you consume your audio feeds, your podcast feeds. Check everything out, and we will see you next week with another episode. Quick program schedule. Next week we'll have a show. Week after we'll have a show. When we get towards the holiday season, we'll see how it goes. But of course, CES. We'll take our winter solstice at that point so we can get the CES content out to you. And then, of course, we'll be back around the third week of January so you can get back and smacking the geek out just like you do every single week. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out, and we'll see you next time. Take care.